Welcome to another episode of the House Huddle Podcast. Here are your hosts, Rob Schwartz and Justin Onayemi, two Bears fans who decided talking into a microphone was better than shouting at their television.
Welcome to episode 24 of the House Huddle Podcast. As always, it's me, Rob Schwartz, joined with my co-host, Justin Onayemi.
All right. Good to see you, Rob. It's been a while. This is the Khalil Herbert episode, but probably we should already be past that if we kept with our regular pattern of episodes. But
I had like a mini episode that
I heard
put
it.
out this last
that was
week.
good. That was good. Like you said, it was important to get some content out there. We knew it was a big game we were coming up on. We're just going to pretend like the Jets game never happened, I guess.
I mean, Justin Fields wasn't there, so
Yeah,
it was kind of like
Fields focused.
Yeah, it was kind of like a preseason game. No Kyler Gordon, no Jaquan Brisker.
Yeah, geez. I was driving back from Georgia, where we went for Thanksgiving.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, because we haven't.
Yes, that's true.
We've talked,
It's been a
but
long
haven't
time.
seen each
Happy
other
Thanksgiving. So we went to Georgia. We won't get into all of it, but I was driving home Sunday and couldn't really track the game. Even my son was trying to watch games on his phone, but because of where we were regionally, it was picking up different games, not the Bears game. And hearing what happened, I think it was for the best. But then I actually went and started to watch it, Rob, even knowing everything that happened, knowing Mooney goes down, knowing Eddie Jackson goes down, knowing Fields wasn't playing, and I'm still watching it. I'm like, I should get a medal for this.
I give you a lot of credit.
I only got through the first half.
That's hard. And I don't blame you for that, because that was the first game in probably 2+ years that I turned the television off. Not off. I switched channels. I went to Red Zone. And I did bounce back and forth during boring parts of Red Zone, but I couldn't sit there for the fourth quarter. I couldn't.
Well, I even saw kind of on Twitter today, people were saying either in comparing Rodgers to Mike White, saying, look what Mike White did against this defense, and how come Rodgers looks like trash? But then some people saying, look at Mike White going against the Vikings compared to going against the Bears. Now, he ended up, I think, having a big game. Jets should have actually won that game.
I'm curious what his stat line was, because we were kind of...
He threw for over 350 today.
So he was the better pickup. We talked about pre these games. You had said, hey, Matthew Stafford's out for the rest of the year, basically. Mm-hmm. I think he can come back the last week.
Right.
We don't need him for fantasy anymore. We hadn't been playing him anyway.
Yeah.
But we were between Kenny Pickett going against Atlanta, which was the better matchup.
Right.
Or Mike White versus Minnesota.
So we went with Pickett, and then we sat him on our bench anyway, and he outplayed Mariota, which we had discussed, but we digress. How have you been, man? I know one of the reasons we didn't shoot is because both our families are not doing so well health-wise.
Yeah, some illnesses going around. I think that's pretty much everyone everywhere right now.
That's true. So hopefully some grace from our listeners.
Yeah. Mine are my two kids. My youngest, they have some virus that only affects younger kids. My older kid didn't even get anything. Low-grade fever kind of spike thing for less than 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And then these mouth sores. I thought it was hand, foot, mouth, but I don't know. They gave me some weird... I don't know. I don't even want to say it. I mean, we're an explicit one, but it's the name of it's Coxsackie. Coxsackie or something like that. So it's it's definitely sounds very inappropriate.
Wow. But. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Our family too. It's kind of going through the family. I don't really get sick anymore. As a kid, I used to get sick a lot, and then that's the only reason the next thing I'm about to say doesn't quite fit. But as an adult, I think my family thinks I'm unbreakable. Like in the movie, the guy that, who was it, Bruce Willis? Yeah. Never has any ailments, the lone survivor. Somehow I did not get sick, but everyone else in the family pretty much has taken around with it, and it's been tough. So with that going on, with what you had going on, traveling, and the Bears not really being much of a watch, I think it was a good time for a mini little break there, even though it was unplanned.
Yeah.
But
it worked out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good to get back together, though, and this is a weird game to talk about. There's so many ways to look at it. It's Bears-Packers, obviously, and then you watch your team. I mean, the Bears are our team, and you want them to win, but you know about the draft stuff, and, I mean, how did you keep it all? How did you compartmentalize all of that?
So I don't know if I didn't fact check what I saw, but I did hear or I saw. I can't remember if I heard it or if I saw it on Twitter. But had they won the game, they would have went from 2nd to 10th overall in the standings for draft slots. And if that's true, then I'm fine with the outcome.
Well, I don't know what you're referencing.
Okay.
And can I speak to that real quick, or do you want to add to it?
I was going to say, I'm not fine with the outcome the way it played out, but I'm fine with the outcome with Green Bay winning.
I see. So, I mean, I don't know what you're referencing exactly, but I do know that because the Bears have such a late bye, with them having 3 wins, some of the teams that also have 3 wins but have 1 fewer loss right now look like they're not as bad, but they're kind of projecting that there's still a lot of losses coming for all these teams. And when it's all said and done, strength of schedule is one of the things that tie breaks, I guess.
Okay.
And so I could see that if the Bears had won this, first of all, they'd have the same record as Green Bay. So I don't know how that tiebreaker would work, because they would have split the season series between each other. And division record, I'm guessing Green Bay is better. But they can't be that much better.
No. And then after that, I think it's like the conference record.
Yeah, but there's a lot of not so great teams out there, man. So the fact that the Bears are locked in at 2, you and I preseason didn't think this was the type of team that was going to be vying for number 1 for sure, or even top 5 necessarily. And I think it's that time to just finally admit that that's what they are. For me, it did take, now you're not even having, you already had a thin, talent deficient roster.
Yes.
And you're losing guys like Eddie Jackson. You haven't, for the last 2 weeks, had Brisker or Gordon.
The secondary.
So actually, he put it this way. Brisker and Gordon you didn't have a first-round pick. Those were both your second-round picks.
Yes.
And Velus, as your third, is invisible.
Yeah. He's going to be here next year just by default.
Well, by then I hope they've figured out a way to use them. And we'll talk a little bit on this, I'm sure, about what next year could look like. And I know our bye week episode can be totally focused on the future.
Yeah, that's what I think I had mentioned. Like, have an idea on where we should go with that. So,
well, maybe let's come up with a few ideas and get some feedback from listeners. And So, all right. I think what I had asked you, I still want to hear your answer. How, as you watched this game, how did you compartmentalize all of the various feelings and things? So I'll throw a few out there. Rodgers, just the fact that he quote unquote owns the Bears, and obviously we know what he's done to them historically. So with this potentially being either his last game or one of his last against the Bears, and it going that way, Fields playing, we're not sure what his health was. I'll throw another weird one out there. Coming into this game, both teams tied for most wins of a franchise. So obviously we know now that that's in Green Bay's hands. But also we talked about losing in the draft pick and watching Fields develop. So all those things were going. How did you compartmentalize?
So Rodgers first, I don't think did jack shit to make me think that he owns the Bears at this point. I mean, maybe Christian Watson owned the Bears today because
he owned Jalen Jones on that end around. Not only did he not contain, but then he continued to run towards the middle of the field.
Yeah, it was bad.
Whew.
And Watson is fast, but that was bad. And the fourth down play that really never should have happened.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. But so and honestly, they were bailed out too by 2 penalties that basically gave them
that drive. Was it 3 plays, 2 penalties and a touchdown?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
I'd have to go back, but
definitely it was two defensive penalties in a row. I do think the pass interference call was the correct call. It was a little
It was,
iffy,
but it's just...
It was iffy only because you've seen him not call it.
Right.
And then, like the Chase Claypool one was, like, way worse, and it wasn't called.
Probably on the same exact spot on the field.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm still having
flashbacks.
PTSD from watching that not be called. That's why I just didn't want them to call it. But
Right.
It was.
But the Jalen Johnson defensive holding penalty, I just thought was just...
And then on the broadcast, they, like, went back and, like, were like, oh, what a hold!
Yeah.
Like, acting like it was over the top.
I wasn't a fan of Mark Schlereth's.
I haven't been for a long time.
Gameplay, play-by-play of this game. Like, it just... There was one where he was talking about there was like
that face mask?
Yes, the face mask.
Well, their point was, well, he kind of released it pretty quick, but that means he was
matter.
holding it.
He spun Komet's head. Like, I don't know. But bad teams don't get these calls. Bad teams seem to find ways to lose, and that's the whole season that we've had so far. It's like they keep finding ways to lose. A lot of times on special teams. Another special teams blunder today, and I will say that their kick coverage was really good.
It was,
and
the kick return game for Green Bay has been good.
Yes.
It's funny you said bad teams find ways to lose, and I totally agree. We've seen it all season long, like you said, and going many years back, you always see it with bad teams. But
as NFC North Division, we've seen it with the Detroit Lions.
We're Detroiting every week. We're just Detroiting all over ourselves. But actually, and this is not to sound bitter or anything like that, I think Green Bay is a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I'll ask you later in the show to elaborate. I think we'll have the same viewpoint, but if you look at the two franchises, would you rather have the Bears present and immediate future, or the Packers present and immediate future?
Oh, Chicago, easily.
Even though you're 0-2 to them this season, you're 3-10 and all this.
I mean, it sounds very biased, seeing that we're Bears fans, but you literally have the future quarterback, where now you look at the other side, and there's talks about him potentially retiring next year, trying to demand a trade. Like, and even if
look what he makes on their cap.
Right. And even if he does come back, what has he done this year? And I get, like, the finger, but it's like the thumb kind of came out of, like, I think as an excuse later. Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem like, I'm not going to sit here and say that Aaron Rodgers is a bad quarterback. He's clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer. Was an MVP two years ago, last year and the year before, right? Yeah. 2 years in a row. So, like, he's definitely still has it, but he doesn't have Devontae Adams anymore. He does seem to be building a connection now with a little bit with Christian Watson. They might be better next year, but I don't envision them being like a juggernaut. And Chicago has all of this cap space.
I was just about to ask you about that, because I know the Bears have a ton, and they're actually in the opposite position.
Yeah.
They're going to be losing guys, cutting guys because of their cap situation.
Again, that's what happened this past season. That's why they weren't able to keep Adams.
Well, and it's why it's so important the Bears have a huge offseason, because let's be honest, and I hope there's not very many Chicago fans that need to be convinced, but Justin Fields is the real deal, and you have him on a rookie deal. So now is the time. Not now, this season. Next season is the time.
I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like it needs to be next season.
Oh, it has to be.
I feel like you can't wait one more.
No,
you can't wait 2024, because
who thinks that?
I'm just saying, like, some people still think he's still on a rookie deal in 2024. Now you're talking the last year of his contract. I'm sure they pick up the options. Then you get 2025 also. But, like, if you want to see this team start to succeed, it has to start next year.
It starts next year, absolutely. But you have so much cap space. I think you and I probably would agree on this. The best draft position possible is number 2.
Yes.
Because there are definitely 2 quarterbacks everyone wants.
Yes.
And like we just said, Justin Fields has proven that the Bears don't have an issue at quarterback.
Correct.
So you trade out of 2, you're getting probably 2 first rounds this year, probably a first round the year after that.
Someone on your GIF tweet for the final quarter, or the final of the game, you had hinted at the draft. Yeah. I said I had one that was draft day, can't come soon enough. And then someone put out there, and it was from draft day, where the Seahawks basically he's eating pancakes and he tells the guy,
"Oh, and
I want your three first rounders for the next 3 years."
Yeah,
like that's I mean,
that's what polls will get to do.
that's I don't know.
It'll be a bidding war.
I don't know if it'll be that much, but hey, it's going to be something very big.
Well, I know we're getting off topic here because this is like a whole thing we can go further into, but I would love for them to trade back, accumulate more picks, and still get either Jalen Carter or Anderson, because our D-line, well, maybe that's our segue back to the game, non-existent.
So I personally have Will Anderson higher than Jalen Carter just because of the position. Defensive tackle typically doesn't go in the top 5. I mean, even look at Aaron Donald, probably one of the best defensive tackles we've seen ever. And he went,
8?
What?
Or,
I want to say it was
13?
10. Was it 13? I know it was one pick before the Bears.
It was one pick before the Bears.
But it was like in that 10 to 15 range.
Yeah.
So again, like, I don't think Carter's going to fall that far just because the way that the rest of these prospects fall off. But some teams don't value that position enough. So he could fall. The question is going to be, who's going to trade up? Are you going to trade? Is Detroit going to give you? Because I think they're currently they won again today, so they might have moved down. But prior to this game, they were 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Would they give up and do the Ryan Pace and move up one spot, or like?
See, here's the thing. And when the Bears did it, I thought it was stupid. I still think it was stupid. But let's just frame it from what you just said. If Detroit's picking 3rd and the Bears are picking 2nd, they also know the Bears don't want to take a quarterback. Correct. However, they're worried about all those teams that are going to trade in front of them.
Yes.
So they would still have a reason to want to move up that one spot and block all those other teams from doing it instead of them. So they'd have to put that 3rd in.
So then the question will be...
And then do you trade that again? See, that's what I'm saying. If
you go down again, you won't get Jalen Carter.
Well, see, if I'm playing Madden, I can probably get Anderson and Carter. I'll trade back from 2 to 3, and then we're going to trade 3 back to 6 and accumulate picks. I know it's not Madden, but it's exciting to see that they're going to have some options. Now, if they fall all the way back to 10, and that's because I don't know, maybe they can beat the Vikings because the Vikings might not be playing for anything that week.
That's true.
Maybe they can beat, they still got Detroit one more time.
Yeah.
And do you upset one of those other 2 teams? Because
you're not beating Philly.
You see what they did at the mini-bye. They came out and looked like a whole different team and won a game no one thought they could win.
That's true.
That was the game where we thought they were being coached by the ghost of of Hallis, and that's kind of why I thought today they might win, just to not give up this record.
Right.
They said the Bears, I don't think, have ever been trailing at the end of any season. So the question is, could the Bears somehow either tie or pass?
Okay.
But if they pass, then I think that means Green Bay now would have a better pick than the Bears even. All right, let's talk a little bit about the actual game itself.
Yeah.
Bears won the toss and decided to keep the ball, which goes
Shocking.
against what a lot of teams do and a lot of times what they do. And it's with Fields playing in a game that we're all kind of wondering, like, what's he going to look like? So right away they let him go out there. And maybe that's strategy, because he just had warmed up and you just let him start playing as opposed to go sit down and get tight.
Did he get a cortisone shot and they wanted to make sure?
He said he didn't have anything. He didn't have anything. So they have a pretty good drive, but only get 3 points. And I think that already should have been an omen.
Yes.
Because you have to capitalize.
You do. And
they didn't. And that field goal, he made it, but it was a low, little crappy kick.
He's been doing these low line drive things.
Was that other one blocked even?
It was tipped.
Okay. I just thought it was crappy.
No, it was tipped.
Okay. So they get 3.
It was like a 40-yarder or something. Yeah, it was tipped. You don't have to line drive that. I get when he missed from
56 or whatever.
Yeah, it was the 1 yard. Yeah, 55 I think is his career long, and it was 1 yard beyond.
Right.
And it ended up being 1 yard short.
It
dinged. Yeah,
on the underside of the cross.
It wasn't a doink. It was a dink. But since then, it just seems like he's doing these line drive things, and I don't understand what's going on.
Even his extra point that he made didn't look good, and he missed one.
And that's not the first one he's missed. So now do we have a Cairo Santos kicking problem? I don't know. Does he got the yips? Like,
it's not a problem that some small part of $100 million can't fix.
Right. Well, and for the Ted Lasso fans out there, you're not allowed to say the yips, but he's got the yips.
I don't remember exactly. I don't think it was a 3-and-out, but the Bears' defense early in the game looked really good.
Yes. The first half.
Like even into the second half.
And the secondary played well for who was out there. I mean, you basically pulled guys off the street and had them starting.
And they had to cover for a very long time.
Yeah, because the defensive line cannot put any pressure on any quarterback. I tweeted out, I think the best play that I saw from Al-Quadin Muhammad, maybe all season, I know he has a sack on the year, but maybe all season, he probably lucked into that sack, by the way, was he bull rushed the left tackle and got pressure on Aaron Rodgers. He was there, had his arm,
forcing an incompletion. Or was it just a bad throw?
I mean, I'm going to give him the...
He forced it.
Yeah. But that's a backup. David Bakhtiari wasn't even playing today.
That's a rookie, I believe, too.
I don't even know who their backup is.
I forgot his name, but he's a rookie.
Either way, you're playing against backups. You were brought here to be a starting defensive end. You got to do better. Again,
they weren't generating any pressure, and then that raises into question, do you then try to blitz? And maybe they were afraid to because Rodgers is going to read it, and you have second, third, fourth string DBs back there. And eventually they had a guy named Hand. I don't even know, good name for a DB, but he was straight off the practice squad.
A couple times, though, they did blitz, and I do recall one in particular that it bit them. I want to say might have been a Christian Watson catch, to be honest. But
that play? Oh, just a catch.
Yeah,
not the
just
touchdown.
a catch.
I was going to say, they didn't blitz there.
No, just a catch. In fact, I think it was on the same drive. I think it was the very next play after the Muhammad incompletion, because then didn't they pick it up?
I think so.
I feel like they
did up the left side.
Yeah, it was the left side that I'm picturing.
Okay. They
blitzed Jack Sanborn and somebody else. But no one got there.
No surprise.
I want to say Jaquan Brisker still leads the team with 3 sacks.
Yes, he leads so your rookie safety who's missed the last 2 games leads your team in sacks. You know who second is?
I'm guessing it's Travis Gibson with 2.
Roquan Smith. They traded him 6 weeks ago, and he's still second on your team in sacks for the season.
That's
so we know that's got to be something they address in the offseason. Hopefully, I think you got me convinced. Anderson would be a great addition, and I think there are some DTs they could add in free agency.
There are. Yeah, I think they could go either way. I think there's some defensive ends you could add too in free agency. So I'd be completely fine with either of them. I think they're generational type talents. I'll tell you one thing. Will Anderson won't have an issue like Dominique Robinson containing, because he's very good at containing and stopping the run. But he's also a dominant pass rusher as well. So, he kind of reminds me of Khalil Mack, if I'm being honest.
Well, I was just about to say, it seems like it's a position where success in college, particularly if you're in a big program like Alabama
or Georgia,
or Georgia, in either case, where it does carry over directly.
Yes.
I mean, look at Micah Parsons, for instance.
Yep.
He's already considered one of the best in the game in year 2. And so hopefully that's the type of player they're adding next year. Tons of cap space, like we keep saying. Fields takes another step. And I think today, if you're going to look at his stats, he did not throw any touchdowns. And he threw 2 interceptions. We can break those both down a little later, but I thought he played very, very well. And I don't know if it was because of the shoulder. I don't know if it's because getting to watch a game from the sideline. But he looked more decisive passing the ball, and looked like he wanted to stay somewhat in the pocket to deliver the right passes. Even using his feet, shifting around, but not going past the line and still keeping his eyes downfield. To Komet.
That was those types of plays, and we keep seeing the progress. We've seen the progression, and that's what makes me get excited about Fields. Because, in the beginning, I get it. You're constantly running. You're not trusting your line. You're getting out of the pocket. You don't feel comfortable. But it's as they've continued to go throughout the season, and I know they kind of changed the game plan a little bit because they did do, came out of that mini bye, they started doing the design runs. But yeah, he definitely keeps progressing, and that's all you really need to see right now. Like, that's all you really need to see right now. The only downfall is he cannot seem to finish games. And it's not always on him. The coaching staff takes a lot of blame in this, specifically today. First, going back, and I tweeted it out, he had 2 design runs fairly early on. And one was a QB sneak. And I kind of had a problem with that one. Like,
yeah.
You mentioned when I talked about the first one, you had said, like, the way that he slid, he escaped, like, avoided the big hit, right? Mm-hmm. But now you're, like, diving into a pile of, 250, 300-pound guys, like, and you're dealing with a shoulder injury.
And his injury wasn't any secret either.
No, like, couldn't you have, like, either called a different type of play?
Tight end sneak.
We saw Cole Kmet do it once.
I think he's done it at least twice.
Like,
and I hated it, but today it would have been fine with. I would have been fine with it.
Like, I don't know. That's just one nitpicky thing, but
so would you agree that? And I know you agree overall in terms of his style of play back in college, but would you agree that today he looked like he wanted to limit his running and focus more on throwing the ball?
Yeah. I mean, he had 71 yards, but 50 some of that came 56. On just the one touchdown run. So, and that was a broken play.
Right. Well, that's what I meant, though. Like, we've seen him, you talk about design runs, but I'm saying typically it's been more common that he has 5 or 6 non-design runs a game, and I don't know how many he had today. Not too many.
Yeah, he didn't look like he wanted to just take off. I do think he tried to throw the ball more. I mean, he had 250-some yards. But to be honest, his receivers actually just held on to the damn ball today. I mean, there's been many times where he's throwing it, and he's losing out on 60 to 80 yards a game just because of drops. So, I mean, if you're looking at it just as a statistical standpoint, like, he would have been over 200 yards in more games this year than what we've seen.
Yeah, we've talked about that in other podcasts. Now, he ended up 20 for 25, I want to say.
5 incompletions, but 2 were interceptions.
But the 2 interceptions. And I'm not trying to be a Justin Fields apologist, and you and I talked about this pre-show. I think that first interception was a bad route by ESB, and he's going up against one of the best corners in the game. And you combine those 2 factors. But what I tweeted at the time was that Fields was doing on that play what a lot of us have been asking him to do more of, which is, and we were just saying, he wasn't thinking run first, but anticipating a guy being open and delivering the throw. And I think he expected ESB to stop quicker and to come back towards that ball harder, and he didn't, and paid the price. And then the second pick, I think, was more the circumstance of the situation. At this point, they needed a miracle. 2 scores, one with an onside kick sandwich in between. Terrible read and a terrible throw, but
so I'll get to the second one in a second, but both kind of play off each other for me a little bit. It was a great anticipatory throw. Obviously, ESB had not even got to his break as he's releasing the ball. But at the same time, and I'm being nitpicky, I think he held it just a little too long. And had it come out maybe a little bit faster, it might have been in his breadbasket as he's doing the turn rather than having to come back more. Now, I don't know what the run was supposed to be. Was it supposed to be a stop? Was it supposed to be a comeback? I'm assuming it was a comeback, and it looked like it was just not, like you said, it took him 12 seconds to turn around and Jair Alexander knew where the ball was going to be before ESB did. But to me, Alexander played off ESB. It wasn't like he was reading Justin Fields' eyes. He was playing the receiver, and he saw what he was doing, and he realized, okay, this is what the route's going to be, and he jumped it.
Alexander doesn't have a lot of respect for ESB. I'll tell you that, flat out.
They used to play together.
They used to be teammates. I'm sure he knows his game, and we remember where he was on their depth chart.
Yeah.
And with that size and speed combination, you would expect him to be higher than he was.
Was ESB on him, though, when he made that deep catch?
Yeah.
Was Alexander on him when he made the deep catch? Well,
and Alexander
him a little bit more.
No, he didn't. In the postgame, he goes, that dude's a scrub. and he said he got one on me. I don't know how I let it happen. And then he showed him who was boss later in the game. But
I'll be honest, I don't think Alexander's as good as other people think. So
well, ESB is not as good as who you hope that Fields can be throwing to in the future. I mean,
better here though than he's been in Green Bay.
Yeah, that's true. But there's not much competition out there on this roster. So, especially with Mooney out, I mean, already a thin position and getting thinner. But
you want?
Yeah, let's take a break.
And then let's hit the second interception on the way back because I do want to touch on that.
Yeah,
because there's a bit of a carryover from where I was going with that first one that really showed up to me on the second.
Okay. I have something on the second one as well.
All right.
So
enjoy these ads. Hopefully they're not Packers ones today.
Especially not today. And we are back. 24th episode of the Hallis Huddle, breaking down the Week 13 loss to the Green Bay Packers. We had just talked about how Fields' overall numbers, what they were kind of looking like, and the fact that he did have 2 picks. We just talked about the first one, and Rob, when we were going into the break, you said you wanted to talk a little bit about that second one as well. So what do you got on that?
Yeah, so before I touch on it, just real quick. So 20 for 25, unbelievable. 250 yards, like this is what people were wanting, right? So he finally gives them that. Hit on some beautiful deep balls. I think he had 3 for over 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
One to Harry.
That was a beautiful one.
The Chase Claypool one where I thought for sure he was done was like, I think 30, 31 yards. And then the ESB one, which was what we were just talking about before break as well. So all 3 of those, right?
The N'Keal Harry one was also on Alexander. And he jumped a route.
Yeah.
He was jumping routes the whole day, which maybe Fields should have known. But anyway, that was the first interception.
I digress. I still don't think Alexander is as good as people make him out to be. I think there's at least 10 other better corners in the league. So, the interception, I felt like Fields just wasn't decisive enough on it. Like, it's like he hesitated to throw. You even see him do like a little, and then he pulls back and throws. To me, if you're going to throw it. Or understand the situation you're in. It's 3rd and 1. I know that you're not running as much, but you showed that you were running. Get the first down.
And
there was even one where he dove.
Yeah. But he held the ball so long, and where the interception happened was pretty far downfield into triple coverage.
Bad read.
So to me, maybe they had a spy on him, but you only needed 1 yard, and you were definitely in 4-down territory.
And I don't know for sure. I'm going to watch the film, but I'm pretty sure there was a check down option.
There probably was. I'd have to look again, too. Another minor gripe I have is the play before that. They were really trying to conserve the clock. So Montgomery caught one on the sideline. I thought he got the first down on 2nd down. So the only reason I even bring that up is I think you're in a whole different situation if that's 1st and 10 than 3rd and 1.
Yes.
But like we said, it was 4-down territory. And you mentioned something. I think you said it in the first half. Sometimes I forget what we talk about in the little break. And remember, we're in a rebuild season where losing does actually have a benefit. But we have not seen any of Justin Fields' brilliance come in late game scenarios.
Which this is a good thing that
Or am I missing something? Am I forgetting
no.
any?
No, you're not. Like Atlanta, he had an opportunity. It failed through a pick.
Detroit,
he had an opportunity. Turnover on downs. There was opportunities that he's had in multiple games. I think Miami, too. They had an opportunity.
Maybe.
I only lost by 3.
And I'm trying to think now back to the San Francisco opening game. I mean, they definitely had a strong finish to that game. I just can't recall if it was like the exact scenario we're talking about. Because really we're talking about you have the ball, you're trailing,
right,
and you got to have that drive to win.
Yeah.
We haven't had anything close to success.
No, it doesn't seem like there's any killer instinct there, which I know he has. So I'm hopeful that it's just that he doesn't have enough weapons around him. That's what I'm hoping. But we saw a good, decent amount of Chase Claypool. I mean, he started to show up with Simeon the week before. I know that game didn't happen for us anyway. And he showed up again some today. And
I thought that when he fumbled, which first of all, I don't know if he was down or if the ground kind of, but I thought he was hurt bad.
I said I thought his knee was toast.
And really worried because you already are without Mooney, obviously for the rest of this season, but what does it mean for even going into next season? And if you get a serious knee injury now for Claypool, wow, how bad would that look? Yeah. But then he came back in and looked okay.
Yeah, I wonder though. Like sometimes you're able to come back in, and then once you stop, and then it swells.
Yeah,
I'm wondering if we're going to see him not
perfect time for the bye week,
right? Yep. So that definitely helps. But yeah, I'm being nitpicky. This was his best passing game, in my opinion. Without actually looking at the film, I think he missed some things, but it wasn't enough where I'm like, he can't throw the ball. Because in my opinion, this should have been one of those things where like the naysayers who say he can't throw the ball are like, oh no, things are starting to click for Justin.
But they're just going to look at the 2 picks.
That's what they're going to look at because they're going to stat watch,
and it's also they're going to stat watch, just check a box score, but also it's like the bad taste in your mouth because they were like the last 2 drives.
Yeah.
But there was a lot to see there, a lot of positives throwing the ball. I'm curious when you do your Fields focus if you can analyze what type of defense Green Bay was throwing at him, because you had brought it up in a prior podcast. He basically looks at it this way, especially on 3rd down. If they're going to play zone, I'm going to find a guy. If they're going to play man, I'm going to take my opportunity to run. And that's what I'm wondering on that 3rd and 1. I'm sure they were in zone.
I think they were in zone.
But they're still only need a yard, and I'm sure there were places to run. You
got to know the situation.
You got to know the situation. Absolutely. So, I mean.
But also, is that just a bad play call? You need a yard.
I was just about to say, man.
I kind of wanted to segue into coaching.
You did brilliantly. I was not very happy with a lot of things coaching-wise.
The first half, I had very few gripes.
Oh, well, then I have a very big gripe about the first half, which is how the first half ended. So we talked about...
That's when it started.
We talked about how Bears' first drive, they got the 3 points. They did a great job on defense, better than we expected, to be honest.
Yes.
Then Fields has this amazing run, so you're like, hey, he's not even limited.
Yeah.
They're up 10-0. Then 16-3. 16 because you miss an extra point.
Yep.
But late in the half, and it's all coming full circle here. It's full circle here because we said the Bears won the toss and elected to receive. Mm-hmm. So second half, you're kicking off to the Packers. With 30 seconds left in the half, 3rd and 3, the team that was not generating any pressure on the quarterback has great penetration on a handoff and actually makes Aaron Jones go back a yard.
Yep.
It's 4th and 4, 25 seconds. Both teams have one timeout. And the Bears use their timeout. Now, there are many Bears teams of the past that I've said have played way too conservative, closing out halves and things like that. And Eberflus, even we criticized him, I think, earlier in the year,
yes,
going into the locker room with all his timeouts and not even, any killer instinct. But what did they realistically think they were going to do? So in their minds, let's call timeout with 25 seconds. Then they're going to kick a field goal. Mm-hmm. So now it's going to be 22 seconds, and you're going to be up 16-6. They're going to kick off to you. Are you going to run it back, or are you just going to take it at the 25? Because if you take it at the 25, you have to now, with 0 timeouts, you've got to go from the 25 to somewhere to kick a field goal, and your kicker, let's just be honest, sucks right now.
Rough day.
Or you're expecting Fields to maybe run all 75 yards.
That's possible.
Or you're going to say, let them kick to us. Velus is a weapon. Let's see if he can return the ball 50 yards.
I mean, he did.
He had some good returns. But then that means that 22 seconds is now down to 15.
Right.
So it was very unlikely they were going to do anything with that time. But they felt the need to preserve it. And instead, Green Bay goes, oh, you're going to give us a little time to talk it out here? Let's go for it now on 4th down. They had stopped him on another 4th down, 4th and 7 or 4th and 8, I think. But that one's, they were in no man's land. They couldn't really kick.
So I was going to say, like, where they were at on the field, had they been back, 15, 20 yards, I could see it more.
Yes.
Then you might miss the field.
They might miss the field.
Then you get that great field position. 25 seconds is plenty of time. But
4th and 4 at the 14.
It doesn't make sense from there.
Because then, Green Bay ended up throwing it to the end zone. We know what happened. They scored the touchdown, and they get the ball.
Defensive line that played great against the run, the play before couldn't
get any penetration.
I want to go back and count. It had to have been at least 7-8 seconds.
Probably. It was a lot, and
they still didn't even get
cover that long,
right? Like they still didn't even get to him. He had all day.
So in Green Bay's mind, now granted, they threw it to the end zone, but now what they could do is just get the first. They still have a timeout.
Yeah.
One way or another, it was the fault of giving up a touchdown, and they get the ball. I just thought it was a terrible coaching move. You want to go in with any kind of momentum. 16-6, and maybe Velus does break one, and you get that bonus point, great. But instead, it really backfired, and I thought that was a lousy move. I thought that in the moment, then it definitely proved itself throughout the rest of the game.
So that's an Eberflus thing, right? Like it has to be an Eberflus thing. You're the head coach. You're the one that makes those decisions. From a play calling standpoint, though, I thought the first half was decent. I didn't think it was bad. But the second half, they just got into this conservative mode again. I don't understand why they keep doing this, and especially like within the 30. Like when they're not even the dread zone, it's like they get inside the 30 and it's like they're doing gimmick plays on like second down. And it's like, why are you doing that when you don't need to?
So I'm trying to think what team, if it was Atlanta, who really started the Wildcat. Baltimore?
Well, Miami.
When it was Ricky Williams. And, who was their quarterback, though?
I can't even remember.
My point is, I don't think it was someone as athletic as Justin Fields.
No.
Why do you need to do the Wildcat if you already have a quarterback that can run?
Yeah.
Because they start, when you said cute and gimmicky, immediate thing pops in my mind is you run the Wildcat for like a gain of 1 or even a loss maybe. They ran it twice today. Yeah. Neither time did it work. So this too cute kind of thing. But I didn't like it either. They got rather conservative at certain points, whether it was sometimes when they had a large amount to gain in running the ball, or even times where 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, if you're going to run, at least have it be some kind of deceptive thing involving Fields and a read.
So I tweeted out that I didn't like where the play calling was going. It was getting too conservative. And then on 3rd and 5, they ran the ball on Darrington Evans
that 21-yard.
Yeah, he's like, apparently he doesn't care because he's just going to do what he's going to do. But that play was not. The chances of that happening consistently is not going to happen again. Why are you not trying to get a first down there? To me,
was that an option read though? Because Fields kind of ran up to hand it to him, took on one of their safeties maybe.
It might have been.
So I think that's what opened the hole. But
either way, 3rd and 5, too many times I'm seeing them just run up the middle, even try to just run it outside. And without having Khalil Herbert, they can't run it outside.
And look how efficient Fields was throwing the ball today.
Yes.
This team has not heard of a slant. We know they've not heard of a slant. So to me, that's a great thing to call on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4. But there has to be something where he can hit commit.
It wasn't a quick slant. Maybe it was more like a drag. But the Claypool catch where he hurt his knee.
That was deeper.
It was deeper.
And it took more time
to
develop. I'm talking about boom, boom. Quick cut.
You don't see quick routes on this team. You don't. It's something
The only quick ones are when they're right at the line and they're throwing these wide receiver screens, which
that everyone knows
haven't done
about
very
now.
well.
No,
there's times. Today it almost looked like a fumble to Claypool. Yeah. Luckily, he did dive down on it. I don't know.
If I had to guess that they've done that type of play 50 times, it's maybe worked 5. Right?
I think it's a higher rate than that. But Not by a
But
whole
teams
lot.
know it's coming too often. I don't know if it's that Fields telegraphs it. I don't know if one of the receivers, like the way that the receivers and the line are, if they're telegraphed. Somehow they're telegraphing it because they quickly just boom.
Well, what else do they run out of that similar formation?
That's
is probably the question.
You know, I think it was a year or two ago. We used to talk about how Sean McVay would basically have the same personnel groups like all the time, and you had no idea what was coming because they were constantly running out of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of my big issues with Matt Nagy because he was constantly rearranging his personnel groups,
right?
And you had no rhythm. So it's like, I don't know. This basically the coaching staff the play calling in the second half was just garbage. They let up 25 points in the second half.
Yeah, outscored 25-3. I want to say. Yeah. Special teams pretty bad. I don't want to say like all around. They didn't even punt until the second half, which is a sign of good offense, good ball control, converting on third downs. But Santos missed an extra point, missed the field goal. The one he made wasn't looking so hot. Kick coverage we talked about was okay. I actually tweeted an unpopular opinion saying you might as well just have Bayless return punts now because I don't know what the hell Dante Pettis is doing. Now, granted, the one that was kind of muffed, I know, but the one that was like muffed, but it actually hit the coverage guy and whatever. But if he's just back there to do fair catches and scare us just as much that he might fumble.
The scaring of the fumble part is a big thing. But to be honest, I'd rather just take the fair catches than the muff punts at the 5.
I know, but I don't think Dante Pettis is the future in any way.
No.
And Bayless might be.
At this point, let's give him some reps.
If he muffs more at this point, whatever. But I don't think he would.
Better chance of that top 2 draft pick.
So, do you want to talk about a few bright spots there were here and there?
Yeah, you want to hand out our game balls?
Let's do that.
All right. I'll one on each side.
Okay, sure.
All right. The guy who stood out the most to me on offense was clearly Justin Fields. So to me, I think he deserves this game ball.
All right. He can send his address. We'll mail it to him.
Yeah, we'll mail it to him. He can autograph it and send it back if you'd like.
I heard this week he put in an order through Uber Eats and it didn't get delivered or something. So he tweeted about it. Did you hear about this?
No, but that's awesome because I'm glad that it happens to everybody,
not just you and me. Oh my god!
This driver just got a free lunch basically because that seems to be what happens.
Well, and I feel like you're pretty good at it, but when you went on there and like, I'm gonna ruin them by tweeting about it. Like, imagine Justin Fields is doing that.
Hey, shout out to Domino's who did right by me, by the way. Okay. And I have a $25 credit for a free dinner at some point because they ruined my family movie night a few weeks ago. So,
oh man, if Twitter existed in the 80s and 90s, I'd own Domino's by now. How many mistakes they made for us? Yeah, we're not. No, I'm not a Domino's guy, but
yeah.
I'll give a game ball out. So now wait, were you saying one on each side for both of us? I'll go on the defense.
Yeah, I think honestly, I only think
I can only think of one on each side.
I think there's only 2.
All right. Well, then I'm for the defense.
There were some guys that made some plays. I mean, we said N'Keal Harry's one catch. Like, can we see some more of him? By the way,
might as well.
Right.
Well, speaking of see more of a person, what was going on with the right tackle situation? Because Riley Reef started. We know he was on the injury report during the week.
Yeah.
And people want to see Leatherwood.
Yes.
But you don't want it to be at the expense of Field, but then all of a sudden Leatherwood was in, and then he was out again. Yeah. So do you know anything?
I don't, other than, Riley Reef is obviously the more stable of the two. And if he's 100% healthy, I think they'd rather that knowing Justin Fields is playing with a bad shoulder. But we do need to see Alex Leatherwood at some point, and I think coming out of the bye, that just kind of needs to be what it needs to be.
Exactly.
I know coming off of mono, like it takes a long time to come back, like fully.
Yeah.
Not personally, but I know other people that have had it that they said it's taken them like 8 to 10 months to fully feel not fatigued.
Wow.
So I think with an athlete, you're probably going to rebound a little bit faster. So I think after the bye, he needs to be out.
Yeah, and you might as well. I mean, after the bye, you got 4 games.
Yeah.
It's all about the future.
Yeah.
I mean, apparently the Packers people think are still in the hunt, but definitely the Bears are not in the hunt. So it's all about development of young players. So if you can play Leatherwood over Riley Reef, you should.
Yes.
We will talk about during the bye week. Maybe that's another thing we can talk about is who needs to get more reps and things like that. So game ball for the defense. It's got to go to Jack Sanborn. We called it here second.
Yeah. No. It's like watching sand porn now. Okay, it's Jack Sanborn. That's his name now. Okay. I dubbed that, by the way. So Adam Hogue from CHGO, he's a Wisconsin guy. He called out Jack Sanborn being a future Hall of Famer, okay, before we did. But it's not like I called it out because I heard him say it. Like,
right, we came to that.
I have no bias
in our best case, worst case.
Yes. However, I dubbed it Jack Sanborn on one of their shows. So, yes, it's out there. It's Jack Sanborn. That's what it is now.
So in UFFL, we picked him up as an individual defender, and he's holding his own, man.
11 points by halftime.
So this is going to bore the people who have no idea what we're talking about, but UFFL, awesome league, but one of the downsides of the league is there really has not been much trading.
Yes.
And you and I pulled off the first trade in like years.
Yes.
And it involved us giving up Roquan Smith.
Correct.
Okay. Now, unrelated, we pick up Jack Sanborn.
Yes.
He's probably outplayed Roquan Smith from a fantasy perspective since the trade.
You can go to my Bear Goggles On article that released this morning. I actually do a comparison of Sanborn and Roquan Smith, and I threw in Brian Urlacher's rookie season just for good measure.
Wow.
On a per game basis, and Sanborn has outplayed Roquan by a far margin statistically.
Wow.
And 8.5 tackles a game he's averaging going into today.
He's everywhere. I mean, there was a run, probably AJ Dillon had where
I thought it was Aaron Jones.
No, I'm saying where he succeeded.
Oh, okay.
And I think Sanborn went too far in and was blocked well by the line.
Got it.
And my point being, I haven't seen too many times where he's been out of position.
Yeah.
He seems to know where to be and make decisive breaks towards the ball. And people keep saying, and I think there's a little bit of the whole Great White Hope thing going on, but they keep talking about, well, he's not the fastest, he's not the quickest, but
I think
he really knows where to be.
And it's 4.7,
40.
But Urlacher was only a 4.6.
I think a tenth of a second matters.
I mean, sideline to sideline being sure.
I just want to know, did he run it how Josh Allen ran it?
No. Anyone has ever run it like that.
If you don't know why we're laughing,
you gotta
go check out Josh Allen's 40 from the combine.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad. I thought I wasn't. I mean, what's funny is he's a runner.
I know. I was gonna say he looks the part.
Did
now.
he do it as a joke, like to try to get his draft stock down?
Well, I was gonna say, what's the joke's on him if it's gonna cost you millions of dollars in the end? But he still was a high pick.
I'm just saying, like, was he trying not like
take for a particular team that had the number
who was
one
the
pick?
number one pick?
Detroit.
Okay, maybe he didn't want to go to Detroit.
I don't know if it was Detroit. I just thought it was a good guess.
It's either Detroit or Houston.
Like Detroit. The joke was in the what was this 90s where 5 years in a row in the first round they drafted a receiver.
Yeah, what was that?
Somewhere okay.
Mike Millen or the GM.
Oh, Matt Millen.
Matt Millen. Yeah.
Matt Millen. Some of those receivers were pretty good.
We had one of them in Chicago, Roy Williams.
Oh, yeah. Roy Williams. But he was decent when he was on the Cowboys, too.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Jack Sanborn gets the game ball on the defense.
Yes.
Honorable mention could go out to, Montgomery had a decent game. A touchdown. He really
per carry word, but
really fought hard for extra yards a few times, including on that touchdown run.
He just wanted to give us more points in UFFL.
Of course. And
I mean, there was guys that made plays. Cole Kmet made some plays. Chase Claypool made some plays.
Yeah.
I mean, ESB had the one catch, bobbled it, but still came down with it.
On the defense, it was more like the overall unit I felt was just playing very well.
I'm blanking on the guy's name.
Blackwell?
Joshua Blackwell.
Yeah, he played well.
Just came up today. Like,
he
not
looked
today.
like the very first play I saw him in on, I just had this weird brain fart because he's wearing 39, and I was like, what? Eddie Jackson?
Eddie Jackson.
But, like, Jackson
He
was
just switched.
39 and changed to 4. Yeah, he got hurt, but he's like, I think I can do it if I wear 39.
He's like, I was just faking it because, and from an injury standpoint, like, they can't play him. So it's like, all right, we'll just switch numbers.
Yeah. It's like, they put me on the IR, but I'm good. So, looking forward to the bye week. Looking forward to just...
Wait. Who are we giving the dirty, stinky jock straps to?
Oh, boy. So that's the opposite of a game ball, if you're wondering.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. On Fields' touchdown run, I feel like, I don't know the guy by name, but he juked one guy out of his jock strap. So that's probably the jock strap that's being given, is the one that he got shaken out of. I don't even know. If you say it, I won't know.
I am blanking on it.
But I'll give mine to Santos.
That's a good one.
Because even his successes look like failures to me. Yeah. And if you call it the yips or whatever you want to call it, it doesn't look good. Now, granted, I don't know. A loss is a win when it comes to the overall big picture, but he's contributed more in negative ways recently than in positive.
Yeah.
Who you got?
On defense? I mean, Al-Quini Muhammad had that one play, so I can't give it to him. I mean, Jalen Jones, because of the end around.
Oh, yeah,
right?
That was bad. Because they made it sound like that play was so amazing, but if you watch, he was like 10 to 12 yards out of position.
No, he just completely
because if you're there,
over pursued.
It's not a touchdown. It's still a first down. It still could be a lot of things, but it wouldn't be an easy touchdown.
Yeah, no, that's just the one guy that stood out to me. I think
that's true
the most. Jalen Johnson, he's got to stop getting these dumb penalties. Like, I kind of want to give him one just because, and they're not even on him half the time. Like,
well, we know the other one was phantom.
Hands to the chest.
Judo chop. I'm going to give one to Aaron Rodgers.
Where was Travis Gibson?
Oh, sorry. Keeping it only to Bears. Did he play?
Can we just say the defensive line?
The whole defensive line. Yeah. Although, you know my guy, right?
Justin Jones.
Yeah, he still made some plays. Amon Watts.
I want to talk about him next week.
Okay.
During our who's going to be here.
Okay.
Let's figure out this defensive line situation.
So next week, we're the GM?
Yes.
I tell you, I would have this team. This team is going to the Super Bowl. If I had this team in Madden, I don't have Madden 23 yet, but I could take this team to Super Bowl next year. Trade the second for the third. Third, I'm trading for the sixth. And
Carter could be there at 6.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, all right, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to break this team down. It's very hard. So I think we're doing a decent job.
Yeah. I'm running out of steam. This has been a long week for me and my wife, and it's going to be even worse. By the way, I'm wearing this all December. I love this hat.
I need to get more Bears clothes, man. Like, hopefully I'll ask for that for Christmas because people probably can't tell each episode I'm basically wearing the same damn thing.
I got a CHGO QB1 t-shirt coming that I got for myself. Yeah, they had a Black Friday deal that I took advantage of. Excited for that.
I should have mentioned. It's been a while, but the studio is coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of like a makeshift. This will be something a little bit more Bears related at some point here. But I got to shout out my wife who doesn't listen to the podcast but supports it drastically. She's the one that got these chairs, the microphone stand, and then my mother-in-law got the microphone for me. So
it's coming together.
Yeah, but like I said in the little mini episode, my wife is doing a ton of cookies, and we've been basically getting 3 hours of sleep every night for the last 3-4 days. So
all through Christmas, man.
I am looking forward to tonight actually going to bed at a decent hour.
All right, that's how you know it's time to sign off.
Yeah.
But it was a good episode, and Hallis Huddle fans, we will be releasing some content during the bye week, so
yes,
definitely be on the lookout for that. All right, bear down.